She crossed my room window, grabbed me tightly and hugged me and smiled. The station had a quiet that only came late in the artificial night cycle. Most lights were dimmed, corridors empty except for cleaning drones, and the massive curve of the habitat ring felt more like a sleeping city than a machine in space. Inside a small residential unit near the outer hull, Ellie Mercer sat alone on his bed, a data tablet resting on his knees. Eli was not a soldier, a hero, or anyone important. He worked as a systems analyst, checking error reports that most people ignored. His days were boring, predictable, and safe. He liked it that way. The galaxy beyond the station was full of strange species, ancient politics, and silent dangers. Eli was content watching it all through reinforced glass. His room was small but comfortable, a narrow bed, a desk, a wall screen, and the wide window that looked out into open space. Beyond the glass, stars drifted slowly as the station rotated. Cargo ships moved like distant insects, guided by lights and careful math. Eli often found the view calming. It reminded him how small he was and how stable his life felt. That night, he was reading an old human novel when he noticed something strange. At first, it was just a feeling, a pressure in the air, like the moment before a storm. Eli looked up from the tablet and frowned. The room lights flickered once, very briefly. That was not unusual on an old station, but something about it felt wrong. Then the stars outside the window shifted. Eli sat up straight. The stars were still there, but the reflection on the glass changed, as if something invisible had passed in front of it. His heart beat faster. The window was reinforced to survive vacuum, radiation, and debris impacts. Nothing crossed it. Ever. He stood up slowly and took a step closer. That was when the glass rippled. It did not crack. It did not shatter. It moved, like the surface of water touched by a hand. Eli froze, his mind refusing to understand what his eyes were seeing. His breath caught in his throat. A shape formed in the ripple, first a hand, then an arm, pushing through the window as if the solid material meant nothing at all. Eli stumbled back, hitting the edge of his bed. Fear flooded his body, sharp and cold. The figure kept coming. A woman stepped fully into the room, passing through the window without breaking it, without leaving even a mark behind. The glass returned to normal, smooth and perfect, as if nothing had happened. She stood there, breathing hard, her clothes strange and unfamiliar, her skin pale under the room lights. Her hair floated for a second before gravity caught it. Her eyes were wide, shining with something Eli could not name. Before Eli could scream, before he could move or even think, she crossed the space between them in 2 fast steps. She grabbed him, her arms wrapped around him tightly, pulling him into a strong embrace. Eli's mind went blank. His body stiffened in shock, every instinct screaming danger, yet she did not hurt him. Instead, she held him, like someone holding on to a lifeline. Then, she smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was not mocking or threatening. It was full of relief so deep it almost hurt to look at. Her eyes filled with tears, and her voice shook when she spoke. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're real. Humans are real." Ellie stood frozen, his arms hanging uselessly at his sides. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure she could hear it. Slowly, carefully, he raised his hands and placed them against her shoulders, not pushing her away, just grounding himself. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice came out weak, barely more than air. "How did you get in here?" She pulled back slightly, still holding his arms, as if afraid he might vanish if she let go. She studied his face with intense focus, as if memorizing every detail. "My name is Ares," she said softly. "And I crossed a very long distance to find you." Before Eli could respond, the room alarms activated. Red lights flashed. A sharp tone filled the air as the station's security systems detected an impossible event: a foreign mass appearing inside a sealed habitat without authorization or breach. Aris reacted instantly. Her expression changed from relief to urgency. "They know," she said. "I stayed too long." She stepped back toward the window. Eli reached out without thinking. "Wait," he said. "You can't just—" She smiled at him again, this time sadly. "I had to see one of you," she said. "I had to be sure." Then she turned and stepped forward. The window rippled once more, and she vanished through it, disappearing into the vacuum beyond. The glass sealed itself again, perfect and untouched. Eli stood alone in his room, shaking. Moments later, his door burst open. Security officers flooded in, weapons raised, scanners humming. They searched the room, the window, the air itself. Eli barely registered their questions at first. His mind replayed the hug, the warmth of her arms, the look in her eyes. She had crossed space itself just to find a human, and she had been relieved that he existed. Eli was taken to a secure section of the station, escorted through corridors he had never seen before. The officers were tense, whispering into their communicators, clearly disturbed. No alarms like this had ever gone off before. Inside a sterile interrogation room, Eli sat alone for several minutes before a station official entered, followed by two beings from species Eli recognized only from news feeds, high-level observers, the kind who never appeared unless something had gone terribly wrong. They questioned him carefully. What did the intruder look like? What did she say? Did she give him anything? Did he feel different? Eli answered honestly. He told them about the hug, about the smile, about the words that still echoed in his mind. "Humans are real!" The officials exchanged uneasy glances. One of them finally spoke. "Do you know why that matters?" Eli shook his head. The official sighed. "Because, according to most of the galaxy, humanity went extinct nearly 300 years ago." Eli stared at him, stunned. "That's not possible. We're everywhere." The official's expression was grim. "Not officially. Not on any galactic record that matters." Eli felt a chill run through him. The room suddenly felt much smaller. As the questioning continued, far from the station, Aris drifted silently through space, her body surrounded by a faint field that bent reality around her. She looked back once at the distant lights of the habitat ring. She had found them. Not ruins, not records, not myths. A living human. And that meant the galaxy was about to remember something it had tried very hard to forget. Eli did not sleep. Even when the lights in the secure room dimmed to signal rest cycle, his eyes stayed open. Every time he closed them, he felt the pressure of arms around him again, warm and real, impossible to forget. The station around him felt different now, smaller, less safe, as if thin walls of metal were all that stood between him and things he was never meant to know. The room was clean and quiet, with smooth white walls and a single chair fixed to the floor. No window, no view of stars. That bothered him more than he expected. For most of his life, space had always been there, just beyond the glass. Now it was gone, replaced by silence. Hours passed before the door opened again. Two people entered this time. One was the same human official from before, a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. The other was not human. Tall, thin, with skin like dark glass, and eyes that reflected light instead of absorbing it. Eli had seen their species only a few times before, always in official broadcasts. They sat across from him. "We're not here to threaten you," the woman said calmly, "and you are not under arrest." "That's good," Eli said. His voice was dry. "Because I don't know what I did wrong." "You didn't do anything wrong," she replied. "You were found." The alien tilted its head slightly, studying Eli with deep interest. When it spoke, its voice was smooth and carefully shaped. "Human Ellie Mercer," it said. "You are classified as unregistered continuity." Eli blinked. "That doesn't mean anything to me." "It shouldn't," the woman said. "It's not a term civilians ever hear." She leaned forward. "What I'm about to tell you is restricted information, but after what happened, keeping you in the dark would be more dangerous than informing you." Eli swallowed and nodded. "For centuries," she continued, "the galaxy has operated under a stability system. Species rise, expand, innovate. And when they reach a certain point, they collapse. Wars, plagues, internal failures. Everyone believes it's natural."
"It's not?" Ellie asked. The alien answered, this time.
"It is guided." The word settled heavily in the room. "There are older civilizations," the woman said. "Very old. They believe uncontrolled growth leads to chaos, so they manage it. Quietly, they remove variables." Eli's hands clenched. "You're saying someone decides who survives?" "Yes," she said. "And who disappears from the records?" Eli thought of what Eris had said. "Humans are real." "Humanity didn't disappear," he said slowly.
Did it? The room was silent for a moment. "No," the woman said.
Humanity laughed. She tapped the table, and a soft projection appeared between them. Star maps spread out, showing regions Eli recognized, and many he did not. Human space was there, but faint, almost erased. 300 years ago, she said, human analysts noticed patterns others ignored. Entire species vanished after reaching similar technological stages, the same signs, the same natural failures.
The alien continued. "Humanity did not wait for confirmation. They prepared."
"They ran?" Eli asked. The woman shook her head.
"They hid. They scattered. They buried themselves in plain sight. They shut down public expansion and erased their footprint from galactic systems."
Eli stared at the map. "But we're still here."
Stations, colonies, trade.
"Yes?" she said.
"But officially, humanity is categorized as a fragmented remnant species."
Non-threatening, non-expanding. Background noise. Eli let out a weak laugh. "That's insane." "It was brilliant," the alien said, "and terrifying." Eli looked up.
"Then who was she? Eris?" The woman's expression tightened.
"That's where things become more complicated." She changed the projection. A new image appeared, showing distorted space, layered like overlapping shadows.
"Some species don't accept disappearance," she said. "They search the gaps."
They studied what was erased. Aris is one of them. A scout from a civilization that was scheduled.
Eli's chest tightened. "Scheduled to disappear." "Yes," the alien said.
Her people discovered the cycle too late. They are already being dismantled through controlled collapse. Eli remembered the relief in Aris's eyes. The tears. "She crossed the window like it was nothing," he said.
"How?" "She didn't cross space," the alien replied. "She crossed assumptions."
Eli frowned. "Human technology," the woman said, "is not just advanced. It is sideways. Your species stopped asking how fast or how strong, and started asking how real." Eli shook his head. "I don't understand." "You're not supposed to," she said gently. "You're not part of the planners. You're part of the proof." The alien leaned closer. Aris was not searching for fleets or weapons. She was searching for confirmation. A living human, unhidden, unprepared. existing without fear. Eli's stomach dropped. So she found me by accident? No, the woman said. She found you because you are ordinary. That hurt more than he expected. Your genetic profile, cognitive pattern, and behavioral history show no signs of enhancement, the alien explained. You are baseline human. That makes you valuable. To who? Eli asked. To everyone, it said. The door opened again, and a security officer stepped in, whispering urgently to the woman. Her face tightened. They detected a distortion outside the station, the officer said. Brief, but identical to the earlier event. Eli's heart jumped. She's back. The woman shook her head. No, that wasn't her.
The alien stood.
The observers have noticed. Eli felt cold. Because of me?
Yes, the woman said.
Because the system logged an impossibility, a human civilian being accessed by non-registered dimensional technology.
Ellie stood as well.
What happens now? The woman met his eyes.
Now humanity has to decide whether to keep hiding. Far away, in a region of space where no official maps agreed, Eris knelt inside a dim chamber filled with light patterns that shifted like thoughts.
Around her stood others of her kind, their faces strained with exhaustion and fear. She projected the image of Eli into the air. A human, alive, confused, real. A murmur spread through the chamber. They exist, Aris said. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. They were not erased. They stepped aside. One of the elders spoke.
Then,
They abandoned us.
No,
Aris said sharply.
they survived.
Another voice, bitter.
Survival is not kindness. Ares clenched her fists.
They saw what was coming. We didn't listen. Silence fell. Our collapse accelerates, an elder said quietly. The cycle tightens. Ares looked at the image again, at the human who had done nothing heroic except exist. There is still a chance, she said.
They are still here. And now they know we are looking.
Back on the station, Eli was escorted to a different room, larger, reinforced. More guards. He felt like a fragile object everyone was afraid to touch. As he sat alone again, a thought refused to leave his mind. Ares had hugged him not because he was special. She had hugged him because humanity still mattered. And now, whether he wanted it or not, he was part of something that had been waiting a very long time to wake up. Eli was moved again before the next rest cycle ended. This time, the walk through the station felt different. The corridors were quieter, but not calm. Guards stood at intersections, their posture stiff, their eyes alert. Screens along the walls showed normal station updates, but Eli noticed how often they flickered for a fraction of a second, like something was being hidden just beneath the surface.
The room they brought him to was not an interrogation chamber.
It looked more like a meeting space, wide and circular, with a low table at the center. The walls were darker, layered with subtle patterns that reminded Eli of circuitry disguised as art. He was not alone. For long, the same woman from before entered, followed by two more humans, and the tall alien observer. Their expressions were serious, but there was something else now. Urgency.
You're being recorded, the woman said, taking a seat. Not for discipline.
For history.
Eli sat slowly. That sounds bad.
It sounds honest, she replied. She gestured, and the room's lights dimmed slightly. A soft glow filled the air above the table, forming symbols and lines that shifted as if reacting to unseen forces. Since the incident, she said, we've detected activity in systems that have been dormant for centuries. Eli frowned. Human systems? Yes, the alien said. Ones we were never meant to find. The projection changed. Eli saw deep space empty and dark. Then faint outlines appeared. Structures hidden between gravitational shadows. Signals so weak they looked like background noise.
These are not military fleets, the woman said. They're not invasion forces.
There, backups. Backups of what?
Eli asked.
Of us, she said. Of everyone. She looked at him closely. Humanity didn't just hide itself. It prepared for the galaxy to fail. Eli leaned back, trying to process that.
You're saying humans planned for everything to go wrong? We're saying humans assumed it already had, the alien replied. Another projection appeared.
This one showed timelines, long arcs of rising civilizations, followed by sudden collapses. The patterns were undeniable. The cycle is real, the woman said, and it's accelerating.
Eli felt his chest tighten.
Because of Eris. Because of contact, she said.
The system that manages the cycle does not like surprises. As if summoned by the thought, the room vibrated slightly. Not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to be felt.
The lights flickered again. One of the other humans swore under their breath.
They're scanning, the alien said quietly, carefully.
Scanning for what? For intent, it replied. For threat. The woman stood.
We don't have much time, which is why we need to explain why you matter. Eli laughed weakly.
I really wish I didn't. She smiled, but there was no humor in it. So do we. She tapped the table again. The projection shifted to a human genetic map. Eli recognized some of the markers from old medical checkups. Humanity realized early that centralized leadership was a weakness, she said. So they decentralized not just command, but identity. The alien continued. Certain humans were born without knowing it, carrying latent interfaces, not implants, not enhancements. Possibilities. Ely stared. You mean like me?
Yes, the woman said. You're what we call an anchor. The word felt heavy.
You don't activate systems, she said. You authorize them.
Simply by existing. Eli shook his head. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to, the alien said. It just has to work. Another vibration passed through the room, stronger this time. Somewhere far away, alarms began to sound, muted by distance.
They're getting closer,
one of the humans said. The woman turned to Eli. Eris didn't hug you because of emotion alone. Her species recognizes anchors. She knew what you were the moment she saw you. Eli remembered her eyes, the way she studied his face. Not curiosity.
Recognition? So what happens now?
He asked quietly. The woman took a breath.
Now we stop pretending this is someone else's problem. At that moment, the lights went out completely.
Darkness filled the room, deep and absolute. Eli's heart slammed in his chest. For a second, no one spoke. Then the glow returned, softer than before. The projection was gone, replaced by a single symbol floating in the air. Eli didn't recognize it, but something about it felt familiar, like a word he had forgotten.
The alien stared at it in shock. That's not possible, it whispered.
What is it? Eli asked. The woman's voice was quiet.
It's a handshake.
The symbol shifted, unfolding into streams of data that flowed around the room without touching anything. Eli felt a strange pressure behind his eyes. Not painful, just present.
You didn't do anything, the woman said quickly, seeing his reaction. This is automated. The alien bowed its head slightly.
Humanity has acknowledged the signal. Eli's mouth went dry. Humanity where? The room filled with a new voice. Calm, neutral, old. Here, it said. The voice did not come from speakers. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once.
We see you, Eli Mercer,
It continued.
And we apologize? Eli stood without realizing it. For what? For the burden, the voice said.
and for the timing.
The others in the room looked stunned, some pale, some openly afraid.
You were not meant to be first,
The voice said. But you were available. Eli let out a shaky breath. Story of my life. A faint sense of warmth filled the room, not physical, but emotional.
Reassuring, the cycle has detected us, the voice said.
As expected, the woman found her voice again. Are we compromised? No, the voice replied.
We are revealed. That was always inevitable. Far away, in the hidden chamber of her people, Aris felt it too. The lights around her flared softly, reacting to something vast moving in the unseen layers of space. She gasped, placing a hand against the air. They've awakened, she whispered. Around her, others looked up in fear and hope mixed together.
They were always awake, Aris said, her voice steady now.
They were just waiting for permission. Back on the station, Eli felt the pressure fade. The symbol dissolved, leaving only the dim lights and stunned silence. What happens to me? Ellie asked. The voice answered gently.
You continue being who you are.
The woman frowned.
That's it.
For now, the voice said.
Your existence has already done its work. Eli sat back down slowly, his legs weak. So the galaxy is changing because I didn't panic fast enough to run away from a stranger?
The voice paused as if considering.
Yes, it said. That is an accurate summary. Outside the station, beyond sensors and charts, invisible lines began to shift.
Systems older than memory adjusted their calculations. For the first time in a very long while, the cycle hesitated. And hesitation, in a universe built on control, was the beginning of something entirely new. The station did not fall into chaos, but it came close. After the voice faded, systems across the habitat began to behave strangely. Doors opened, a second slower than usual. Lights adjusted themselves without commands. Navigation displays showed tiny corrections that no one remembered authorizing. To most residents, it felt like nothing more than a technical glitch. To the people in the secured levels, it felt like the universe holding its breath. Eli was escorted back to a private room, larger than before, with a window again. Someone had decided he deserved to see space. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands resting on his knees, staring out at the stars. They looked the same. That was somehow the most unsettling part. Behind the scenes, messages spread faster than any official alert. Human enclaves that had not spoken openly in generations began to stir. Quiet stations hidden inside asteroid fields powered up long, silent cores. Old ships, disguised as scrap or museums, ran internal checks for the first time in centuries. None of this was announced. None of it needed to be. The signal Eli had triggered was not a call to arms. It was a reminder. On the station, the woman with gray hair stood before a group of officials, human and non-human alike. They argued in low voices, tension sharp in the air.
We cannot reveal this, one insisted.
If the observers realize,
they already realize something,
she replied. You felt the scan. They are cautious now. Cautious does not mean safe, another said. If the elders respond, they won't, the tall alien observer said quietly.
Not immediately.
All eyes turned to it. The system that enforces the cycle depends on certainty, it continued. Predictable behavior. Predictable fear. Humanity has introduced uncertainty. That's not a shield, someone snapped. That's a provocation. The alien shook its head. No. It is worse.
It is an example.
While they argued, Eli watched a distant cargo ship adjust its course by a fraction of a degree. He felt a strange sense of calm, as if something enormous had shifted into place behind the scenes, like a heavy door finally locking. Hours passed. Then Aries returned. She did not enter through the window this time. The station detected her approach early, and instead of alarms, a controlled corridor was cleared. Eli was told to sit still. He did not argue. The door opened, and she stepped inside. She looked exhausted. Dark shadows lay under her eyes, and her movements were slower, heavier, like someone who had run too far without rest. But when she saw Eli, she smiled again. Small, but genuine.
"You're still here," she said. "So are you," Eli replied. "I wasn't sure you would be."
She closed the distance between them and stopped, careful this time not to touch him without permission.
"I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to place this on you."
Eli shrugged weakly.
"I didn't mean to place it on anyone."
They shared a quiet moment, the station humming softly around them.
"My people are failing faster now," Eris said. "The cycle noticed our attempt to reach you.
It is correcting." Eli felt a familiar tightening in his chest. "So did we make things worse?" Ara shook her head firmly. "No, you made things visible." She looked toward the window, at the stars. The cycle thrives in darkness, in silence. It cannot erase what is openly acknowledged. Ellie frowned.
"Then why hasn't it stopped?" "Because it has never been challenged this way," she replied. "Not with patience."
At that moment, the room lights dimmed slightly. Not a failure. A response. The calm voice returned, softer than before. "We are moving now," it said. Aris straightened, her expression alert. "You speak openly."
"Yes," the voice replied.
The time for shadows is ending. Across the galaxy, things changed, without explosions or battles. Trade networks rerouted themselves, prioritizing stability over profit.
Medical databases unlocked long-hidden cures, releasing them quietly into public research channels. Navigation systems corrected errors that had been present for centuries, making dangerous routes suddenly safe. No announcement was made. No flag was raised. Elder civilizations noticed first. Their models began to fail. Predictions slipped. Influence weakened in small, embarrassing ways. Worlds scheduled for decline stabilized instead. Conflicts lost momentum, not because someone stopped them, but because the reasons behind them no longer worked. The cycle strained. On the station, officials watched reports stream in, disbelief growing with every update.
"They're not attacking," one whispered. "They're fixing things."
"They always planned to," the gray-haired woman said quietly. Aries turned to Eli. "This is what humanity does best," she said. "Not domination. Continuity." Eli rubbed his face with his hands. "I still don't understand how a species could plan this far ahead." Aries smiled faintly.
"Humans are afraid of endings," she said. "So you learned how to delay them?" The voice spoke again, addressing Eli directly.
"You may leave this station soon," it said. "Or you may stay. The choice is yours." Eli looked up.
"Just like that?" "Yes," the voice said. "Freedom was never removed from you."
Only hidden. Eli thought of his old life, his quiet job, his predictable days. He thought of the hug that had changed everything. "I think," he said slowly, "I'd like to see what happens next." Aris let out a breath she had been holding. "Then you should come with me, at least for a while." Eli met her eyes. "Where?" She gestured vaguely toward the stars, somewhere the cycle never expected humans to care about. Far away, in the deepest layers of control space, the mechanisms that enforced the Great Resets began to slow. Not because they were damaged, but because too many exceptions now existed. Too many systems refused to fail on schedule. The elders watched their screens in growing unease. For the first time in their long history, the galaxy was not ending quietly. It was continuing. And that terrified them. Eli stood at the window one last time before leaving the station. The stars outside looked the same as they always had, but he knew better now. Nothing was truly the same anymore. The galaxy had shifted, not with noise or fire, but with quiet decisions made long ago finally coming into the light. Behind him, the room was calm. No guards, no alarms. Just a travel pack resting on the bed and a small data slate that contained more information than his old job had ever allowed him to see. He did not feel like a hero. He still felt like Eli Mercer, a normal human who liked routine and disliked surprises. And yet, everything had changed. Iris waited near the door. She looked stronger than she had the day before, as if simply knowing humanity had stepped forward had eased a weight she had carried for too long. Her people were still in danger, but now they were not alone in facing it. "Are you ready?" she asked. Eli took a final look at the stars and nodded, "As ready as I can be." They walked through the station together, not hidden this time. People passed them in the corridors, unaware of how close they were to history. To them, Eli was just another passenger. To the galaxy, he was proof. The ship waiting for them was not impressive. No sharp angles or glowing weapons. It looked like a simple exploration vessel. Its surface worn, its design unremarkable. That was intentional. Human ships had learned long ago that power did not need to announce itself. As they boarded, Eli felt a brief sense of hesitation. He was leaving behind everything familiar. His job, his room, his old life. But he did not feel regret. Only curiosity. The ship launched smoothly, slipping away from the station without drawing attention. As it entered open space, Eli felt a strange calm settle over him, like a long-held breath finally released. Elsewhere, across the galaxy, worlds that had been marked for decline found new paths forward. Failing ecosystems stabilized, as hidden corrective systems quietly engaged. Artificial shortages vanished. Information long suppressed became available, not as sudden floods, but as steady streams that societies could absorb. The cycle resisted. Old control structures pushed back, attempting to restore balance as they understood it. But every correction created more exceptions. Every forced failure revealed another human-designed workaround. The cycle had been built to manage chaos. It was not built to handle compassion at scale. In a hidden region beyond mapped space, representatives of elder civilizations gathered. Their forms varied wildly, but their concern was shared. Models scrolled endlessly before them, none agreeing with the last.
"This should not be possible," one said.
"They were removed. They removed themselves," another replied, "and left roots everywhere. They are destabilizing the system."
"No," a third said quietly. "They are exposing it." Silence followed. On the human ship, Eli sat across from Eris as stars stretched into motion around them. She watched him carefully, as if still half afraid he might vanish. "You know," Eli said, breaking the silence, "where I come from, hugs don't usually change the fate of the galaxy." Ari smiled. "Where I come from, they only happen when something precious is found." He nodded, thinking about that. "Why me?" he asked again, though his voice was softer now. "Out of all humans?" Aris considered the question. "Because you were not hidden behind purpose," she said. "You were just living. That made you honest." Eli looked down at his hands. "I don't feel honest. I feel lost." "That's the same thing," she said gently. The ship adjusted course, heading toward a region marked only by empty space on most maps. "This is where my people are," Aris said. "Or what's left of us." Eli felt a familiar tightness in his chest, but this time it was mixed with resolve.
"Then let's make sure there's more left when we arrive."
The calm voice spoke once more, not loudly, not dramatically. "You will not be alone," it said. Eli did not jump this time. He smiled slightly.
"I figured," he said.
"You have done enough," the voice continued. "You may step away at any time." Eli thought about that. About how easy it would be to return to a quiet life now that the door had been opened. "I don't think," he said slowly, "that I want to step away yet." There was a pause. Approval, perhaps.
"Very well," the voice said.
"Then walk gently. Others will follow." When they arrived at Aris's world, Eli understood why she had looked so tired. The planet was beautiful, but strained. Cities bore signs of careful repair, layered over old damage. The sky held a faint haze where something fundamental had once been wrong. Her people moved with quiet determination, not despair, but not hope either, until they saw him. Word spread quickly, not with panic, with wonder. A human had come, not as a ruler, not as a soldier, just a human. Eli felt uncomfortable with the attention, but he stood his ground. He listened. He asked questions. He admitted when he didn't know answers. That mattered more than he realized. Human systems activated, fully now, no longer hiding. Not weapons. Support. Education. Infrastructure. Time. The cycle strained again, then weakened. Without secrecy, without fear, it had no leverage. Elder systems began to shut themselves down, one by one, not destroyed, but rendered unnecessary. Control gave way to choice. The galaxy did not become perfect, but it became free. Months later, Eli stood on a balcony overlooking Aris's world. The sky was clearer now. Children laughed in the distance, their voices carrying on the wind. Aris stood beside him. "My people will survive," she said.
"Because you existed."
Eli shook his head. "Because we all did." She smiled and, this time, hugged him again. Not tight, not desperate, just grateful. Far above them, human ships continued their quiet work, not as masters of the galaxy, but as caretakers of its future. Humanity did not conquer the stars. It reminded them how to keep going. And it all began with a window, a hug, and a smile that said the most powerful words the galaxy had forgotten how to hear. "You're real."